be only one podcast. It may be the Prince of the Universe. Hi, folks. I'm Matt.
I'm Wes.
I don't know if I picked that up. Are you excited to be here?
I'm excited. I just hope we do not fumble this up so bad, because this is really
I don't care. I think it's
flying by the seat of our pants.
What happened was you had texted me a while back, and you said, I want to do a podcast on Batman Returns. And that's all you said.
Yes.
I was like, okay. Like, what about Batman Returns? So,
I think Batman Returns is the lost masterpiece of Batman movies.
I will agree with you on this point. I don't think it's better than the first one, but I think it is a solid film. I don't care. You can make fun of penguins being, strapped with, but that's the comic books.
Right.
That's the comic books.
Exactly.
That's Penguin. That never, and still today, doesn't bother me when I see penguins walking with things. Yeah, that's the comic books. That's Gotham. When Penguin's on top of that rubber ducky giving his big grand speech, this is the comic book. I love it. That's something, that whole vision, I lost his name now.
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton has. Christopher Nolan has zero imagination on what Batman was about compared to what Tim Burton put into Batman Returns.
Well,
that's how much I feel about it.
Yeah,
not that Christopher Nolan's films were bad. I enjoyed the first
not
two.
at all.
I enjoyed the first two, but I'm just saying he tried to take Batman and put him in the real world, where Tim Burton embraced the comic book nature of these characters, of the theme of Gotham.
Yeah, and I think that, gosh, and I know we're the 17th podcast out of 100 that you could choose from talking about this, but I really thought Batman Returns was such an overlooked film, and I think it's because Batman was so huge. There was no way to follow it up. And I know
that's true too.
We're Star Wars marks to the max, and Star Wars was such a big deal, but Empire was such a good return film.
Yeah.
But Batman Returns, I'm not saying it's Empire, so before anybody gets upset, I'm just saying as a standalone, it's almost like an Elseworlds.
It's a solid film. I agree with this. It's a solid film.
Because so much of Tim Burton went into after that with Edward Scissorhands and Nightmare Before Christmas and Princess Bride and all. But a lot of that's in Batman Returns.
A lot of that's in Batman Returns, but he didn't let it take over. He didn't let it take over the vision. There is some normality when it comes to Bruce Wayne.
And it's a love story in that movie.
Yes. But when it comes to the odd and obscure, which is what the villains are, I think he really shined on that. I do agree with this. I mean, I loved how when they picked Penguin, I was a little upset as the villain, because you follow it with the news and the tabloids and the magazines back then. The internet wasn't a thing.
Sure.
But you follow along with that, and I've been like, oh, because really hoping Riddler would be next. I really love the Riddler. But I was like, okay, Penguin, cool. Now people will love the Penguin more. That's what I thought. So because people now are just crazy about the Joker, but they'll really love the Penguin. He went a totally different direction than I don't think anyone thought. Penguin is this, established, well-defined. I mean, obviously a crook because he's got the long nose but he's the monocle. He's always clean dressed. He's always the businessman who's too smart for the Batman because he's doing legal business.
Sure.
And then he had the gimmick with his umbrellas. It's mainly what the Penguin was.
Yeah.
He goes, okay, well, let's make a wretched sewer-dwelling, hideous, Dan DeVito, which was the perfect character to play Penguin, in my opinion. I don't think
he already had the haircut.
He already had the haircut. He's got the gruff voice and everything. And I mean, still today, I don't know of anyone else.
Odd-looking fella.
Yeah.
So he's got that going for him.
So yeah, no, he was a perfect choice for that. And of course, there was the big fight. I don't know if you remember this, between Michelle Pfeiffer and the girl from Blade Runner. I forgot her name already. We should have studied
Arquette?
No. The old Blade Runner film.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember her name.
But that actress was going for Catwoman too. So much so that didn't she show up?
Yes.
As Catwoman for a night show interview? just trying to get, just begging for the role of Catwoman.
Right, yeah.
She really wanted it. And so that was a thing in the tabloids of who would be Catwoman. Well, obviously, supposedly Tim Burton never even considered the other girl. Dang, her name is on the tip of my tongue, too.
This is why you need to be prepared.
I know. This is why we need to be prepared. But anyway, I'm going to look it up here in just a minute. But anyway, Michelle Pfeiffer did a great job. And who wasn't in love with Michelle Pfeiffer in that role as Catwoman?
She was incredible.
And still today, let me think about all the Catwoman we've seen since then. There's not been one that's impressed. Unless you're a Halle Berry or who was the girl in Christopher Nolan's ones that I don't like? I can't remember her.
She was good.
She was good. I didn't like her as much as better than Michelle Pfeiffer.
No.
Okay, there you go.
No.
Sean Young.
Was
from Blade Runner. Sean Young was the one who really wanted Catwoman, and I remember that because I thought there was and I guess everyone thought when she did that appearance as Catwoman, everyone thought, oh, wow, so it's a big decision between two of these ladies. And according to Tim Burton, no. Sean Young, he'd already told her no.
I'm sure there's some inside baseball shenanigans we don't know about with that.
I think that is part of the Superman Returns documentary. Have you seen the Superman Returns documentary?
Possibly.
Okay, it's where possibly they show how much. I didn't realize how much.
We've seen so much nerdy stuff. It just really
this one I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's the documentary showing everything that they had. I mean, Superman Returns was on the cusp of starting to film. I mean, they had models, they had fitting. I mean, we all seen Nicolas Cage in the Superman outfit, but he had
this ridiculous spider that they used in Wild Wild West that was taken from that script. Script of Superman.
They had all that type of stuff in there, but they had models for Brainiac. I mean, they had the whole thing planned out. They have test footage of Nicolas Cage acting like Clark Kent and showing what Clark Kent would wear, and I was like, oh my gosh! I mean, they were really ready to go with this. And what was hurting Tim Burton at the time, because he was promised this one, was because what happened coming off of Batman Returns.
Correct.
And they had talked about, and that's where kind of they talked a little bit about Batman Returns, the fiasco going on. First off, leading up to it, because Batman was just a bigger film than any of the studio would ever imagine.
Nobody could have predicted how big of a deal that movie was.
Because he said that they said, because he was trying to find who would be Joker, and the studio said, Jack Nicholson gets to be Joker. He went, well, he doesn't want it. They said, we'll keep making him offers until he says yes. And so Jack Nicholson made the biggest deal of his movie career and said, I want 10%.
I was about to say, he got a cut of everything, kind of like how Lucas did with Star Wars.
Yes, and no one has ever received a deal like that for anything. I mean, he got a whopping, that first movie made billions.
Yeah, he probably made, I think they said he made over 40 million.
Easily. And growing probably if he's still making profit off it. Who knows? But the thing is, though, he made a big, sweet deal for them to get him. And he knew if he held out, they'd probably go. But to Jack Nicholson, he was the hottest thing back then anyway. So you want me, you got to pay. I get that. I don't. He did a great job. But so it just kind of blew up. And so then there was much more pressure on the sequel for him.
Correct.
And then there was all this circus going around with Sean Young saying that, yeah, I'm in the contention. Everyone thinking, oh, is she in the contention? No, she is not in the contention. But, it's your word against the tabloids. And he said it was just so much, it was such a bad, in a way, a bad experience because of, go ahead.
I think it's more like, and please leave comments if you agree or don't agree.
No, they will.
I think it's almost like it's like a band that makes an album, and it stands like it just breaks down all the walls, and whatever they put out next is going to be picked apart so much. It's kind of like, I equate it to Guns N' Roses with Appetite for Destruction, and it was just like this huge commercial success that was mixed with filthy lyrics and just like, whoa, this is way too dirty to be popular. And then they go to Use Your Illusion, and people go, oh, this is not even the same band. That's how Batman Returns is for me. It's almost like you got Michael Keaton in a black suit.
Right.
But other than that, and you have Alfred, and you have some of those bit players, but it is such a different movie. Different vibe. It's more of a Tim Burton movie than it is a DC Comics movie.
Yes. I agree with that. And I agree it still holds up. I don't think it's inferior. I remember watching it in theaters and enjoying it, too. Which is, we love the first one, so everyone was excited to see the second one, but I thought it was fine.
I think people walked out scratching their head going, I like that, but I don't like it at the same time because
there's bile coming out of Penguin's mouth as he's falling to the bottom of the ocean. You're like, that's a little weird.
But what I mean by that, I'll also go back to my first comment, was I feel like Tim Burton let that movie age with his audience. Like, I saw that movie in 1989. I was about to be 11 years. I was 11. I was about to be 12. So I saw Batman Returns years later. Well, I was older, so it aged with me. It did not.
I didn't realize that. You didn't see it in theaters.
Well, I'm just saying, I saw it in theaters, but I didn't see it as an 11-year-old kid. I saw it as a 13 or 14 however old I was at that point. So it aged with me. So it had grown with me.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people wanted it to stay in the same vein as 1989. And Tim Burton is definitely didn't want that.
Well, he didn't want that. There's continuity, I believe, between the two. I mean, continuity that you're not totally just shifted out of a different world, but he doesn't go the same path that he did with the Joker. It's a totally different approach to how the villains are, perceived, what their motivations are, and stuff like that. Which I completely agree. I love this film. We could even talk about the next one, which if you change Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face, is a good film.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I think that the Batman Returns movie just really gets overlooked. Batman Forever, I think is...
Well, Batman Forever is inferior to Batman Returns. I will say that.
It's way too slick.
It's Joel Schumacher.
It's very... it's weird because I love Lost Boys by Joel Schumacher.
But he took Batman and made it cartoony instead of comic books.
Yeah, it's so weird. Because Lost Boys was so good.
And that is odd because he should know how to get that, in a way, fantasy mixed with reality. Because he did it perfectly for Lost Boys. And to have him come to Batman Forever, you think that'd be the perfect... I can understand see a studio going, yeah, this is the perfect
I remember
guy.
Years ago when Twilight was such a big thing, and I was thinking, during my prepubescent days, man, I thought the Lost Boys, those vampires were way cooler than anything on Twilight that my ex-wife at that time was watching, because
Twilight was never good.
Those guys looked like they were on the Sunset Strip in Los Angeles, but they could fly and eat flesh.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I know it's another podcast. I'm just saying so much, how he went from this dirty, dingy vampires into Batman with nipples.
Strikingly different.
Man,
strikingly
it's a big mess.
Different. It was a big mess. You could tell something was wrong when you watched it. Not just, but I thought Val Kilmer did a great job.
Yeah.
As Batman, and there's a lot of things I do like about that one, but I do think even without its flaws, which I think its biggest flaw is that they made Tommy Lee Jones act like the Joker. Just because of McDonald's, what happened in the second one.
Sure.
I guess we can go back to now talking about
I definitely think
this.
that needs to be addressed.
But he said that was one of the other big pain points. McDonald's was pissed.
Yeah.
That they were selling Happy Meal toys of a character who bites the nose off of someone.
Right, yeah.
This coughing up bile at the end, who's just disgusting
and
filthy.
It is very PG-13. This is not...
It's not that there's grotesque violence.
This is not the ABC Sunday night movie.
Yeah, yes. It's disturbing images, and not anything gross. Even sure, when I say bile, it's just blackness, but it's getting.
I feel like that Tim Burton let that movie grow with his audience from the 2 years or whatever it was, because I know it came out at Christmas. I want to say it was 2.5 years or something.
Something like that. Yeah, it came out at Christmas. Maybe.
I feel like he wanted his audience to grow rather than saying, I'm going to get the next group of 11-year-old boys to really like this. He wanted the 14-year-old boys to go, oh, I like this too. He wanted to hold that audience and grow with him, which I think he did with Nightmare Before Christmas and the plethora of films he's made since then, Edward Scissorhands, he grabbed that genre, that 90s genre of guys and girls, and they have really followed him with his career, at least for the 1990 through 2000.
Absolutely. 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 What else is good about Batman Returns? What else do you love about it? What's some other finer points? You must have just recently watched this when you sent me that text.
I did. I recently watched it again.
What made you rewatch this one? Had you watched Batman first and you said, I'm going to watch this?
Yeah, I did. I think that it was so much of just like the fallout. And I remember watching that younger because I was such a huge Batman fan. And like the second one, I didn't understand why it was so much backlash toward it. So when you're a kid, you're easily
That surprised me too, but I was a kid too.
Yeah, we're easily influenced by... Well, everybody loved the first one. I don't feel like this one is awful. And I know a lot of people say, well, you don't see Batman at the beginning, and you see... It's a lot of different storytelling style.
I always imagined, I think as a kid, when hearing this news later on, when you hear people talking about it, I thought, oh, I guess the Penguin wasn't that strong of a character. But he is. You rewatch that film, he's a very great character. Very great. And it's something different. You know?
I'll tell you what I liked out of it, not to sound like a total sap. I thought that the relationship with Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle was very good.
It felt more original than with Nicole
Vicky
Kidman.
Vale.
Vicky Vale.
All
Vicky
that
Vale
other stuff.
Kind of, it falls together fine.
And it's funny when Michael Keaton says, oh, well, you bring Vicky Vale down to the Batcave. Like, he makes a joke of how quick they just expose his identity in the first one.
I thought that was funny.
Very good. So, like, his, like, interaction with her at the dance before the Penguin burst out, like, I just thought, like, that was such a more of just a romantic tale of, man, no matter how good this feels, this is not going to work. There's so many things coming between us. And I think anybody that's been in any kind of relationship like that, whoever the hell that is, would look at that and go, oh, I've felt like that before. Like, I've felt like this attraction to somebody and wanted this, but there's just too many reasons why it won't work.
And another reason why Vicky Vale, well, I mean, this is the era where if you did a sequel, you had to have a new leading lady for your leading man.
Sure.
But then you had to explain where the leading lady went off, and it was just usually a one word or one sentence. Oh, you know what happened to Vicky? Yeah, she just couldn't handle it. Then we move on. You're like, really? So everything we got built up for the first one?
Now, granted, I agree that that has not aged well.
No, I hate the one-off. Oh, I mean, Karate Kid did it too. You know, Allie and him broke up, got into a fight at the very beginning of 2. You don't see Allie, you just know that she's not there because it's a new leading lady. Then that leading lady, although she was in love with Daniel, finds a new career as a dancer and leaves him. So now he's got the new girl. You know, it's just like, that whole trope that they had to keep doing. But Vicky Vale, there's some good stuff with how they felt. I love my favorite scene, if we're going back to the Batman real quick, is where they're eating in that long table and talking back and forth. And that's
Can you pass the salt?
Yeah. So you eat here a lot? Oh, yeah. I just kind of looks around. I don't think I've ever been in this room. I was like, that's great. This is great.
Subtle humor.
This is another thing. People hated Michael Keaton as a choice for Batman when it first came out.
Of course
I
they
didn't know
did.
this.
Yeah.
I was totally oblivious to this till like years later. And I was like, he's perfect for Batman. But because he was the comedy guy.
Who had better eyebrows than Michael Keaton?
But he played the role great.
Not to jump the shark on this, but man, he had cool eyebrows.
No, he was great. No, he was great. He was great. He had the look. He could be serious. Plus, those lighthearted moments about, I don't think I've ever been in here before. That's what Bruce Wayne has to be charming. He's got to be charming.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that Christopher Nolan got wrong. Bruce Wayne isn't an arrogant asshole.
Right.
Which is how Christian Bale was like set to portray him. But I blame Christopher Nolan because I know he's like, no, we need him more of a jackass, please.
Right.
No, he's a suave, debonair, kind of guy, and with
endearing.
Endearing. That's a great word. Thank you for that. But yeah, and Michael Keaton can play that.
Yeah,
he can play
for
that
sure.
perfectly. He didn't play it all goofball and everything. He played it pretty straight.
He was not Mr. Mom in Batman or Batman Returns.
No. Schooner Tuna, the tuna with the heart. Yeah, that kind of goes in with Batman Returns, right? Okay, so anyway, speaking of Catwoman, I thought Michelle Pfeiffer was a good pick for that. I don't think anyone could have done that role better.
If they could have, they would have been it would have been 1A and 1B because I thought she did incredible.
Yeah. She was great.
She portrayed Catwoman well.
She did. She really did.
Like,
it's hard because it's easy to jump into the cheesy, I'm a cat person.
Yeah.
Because then it comes off weird. But no, she did a great
And
balance
they had
of the
enough
two.
of that when she fell into the cat litter truck, and I know people were like, "Oh my God, what's the odds?" It's like, come on, guys,
This is a movie.
comic book movie.
This is a movie. It's a comic book.
We
Which
gotta-
I don't mind.
I need a let you up moment in between her swallowing a bird and the term "pussy" being used in the movie.
Yeah.
I thought she did great.
She really put the bird in her mouth. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did.
Like her back before CGI was a thing. She put the bird in her. She didn't even know
She's
what she was
committed
thinking.
to her craft.
She was.
And
But
my
the
God,
thing is
that bodysuit.
Which is sad because that used to be at every Comic Con. Remember that? Remember when people would wear that instead of Harley Quinn?
Where have all the good times gone?
It's like, where's all the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwomen?
Get me Michelle
Oh,
Pfeiffer.
What's
any
this?
day.
Another Harley Quinn. Oh, look, it's another Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
You go to Comic Cons now, it's Deadpool and Harley Quinn. Those are the only two superheroes that exist. Or anti-heroes. They're both anti-heroes.
Or the fat Thor. I noticed that in Comic Con in 2019.
Oh, come on. There's
a
fat
lot
Batman,
of guys.
There's fat Superman. There's...
Yeah, but a lot of
there's
guys
fat.
were like, "Oh, I got that one."
I've been working on this one for a while.
Yeah.
Ever since I saw Avengers, I was like...
Who needs a six pack when you got a keg?
In fact, that's why they did it. They said, "Oh, nerds will love me for this."
Yeah, it was just
I'm Thor, baby. What?
I was repulsed.
I could get in shape if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But I figured this would be good Comic Con. Then I'm going to go on a diet right after this. By the way, you're going to eat that cheese. Okay. Anyway. Christopher Walken is in this.
Very good.
He is an unsung hero because he gets forgotten.
He's
His
very
character gets
Christopher
forgotten.
Walken.
He is very Christopher Walken, but he goes well, and I thought that he paired well with Danny DeVito. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because you do forget about him being one of the villains.
His costuming in this movie is a little silly. I will have to say he looks a little Phantom of the Opera at times.
I'm going to go back to the comic book feel of the movie. That's Tim Burton's vision and idea.
No, I
And yes,
agree.
it is like he's fighting, Batman's fighting clowns at the beginning, right? Okay. What is this remnants of the Joker? No, it's just an escape circus theme or something like that.
I love Michelle Pfeiffer's hair when it's all wild after she becomes Catwoman and she's trying to just be Selena Kyle.
Oh,
It
yeah, no.
is so sexy.
Again, the Selena Kyle, they make her frumpy Catwoman.
Yeah.
Cat lady, excuse me. I should say cat lady girl. But she's still got those great eyes behind the glasses. Don't they get it to where her glasses mark her,
I think there's
shadow
subtle
cast?
changes.
The shadow from the frames will cast her what her mask looks like at one time, which I thought, if I remember right, I think they did that. It's been a while since I've seen this one. I watched these 4 or 5 years ago with my brother at the beach because we wanted to watch all the original ones except for Batman and Robin, but we ended up watching it anyway because why not? We thought, well, see, we loved the first one. We knew we did. We loved the second one together, and we were kind of surprised on how Batman Forever wasn't as bad as we thought it would be. It's still bad. There's some you talk about embarrassing points or whatever you can talk about with Batman Returns. It doesn't hold a candle what they have in Batman Forever. It just takes the whole franchise takes another
They just
step
dumb
down.
it down so much. I
It is
felt
dumbed
like.
down for. It's like, hey, McDonald's told us to do this.
Right.
Dance monkey. Dance.
We're making
You
this
want-
for McDonald's
do you want our,
and
do you want our
Hasbro,
money?
whoever
Yeah.
owns the
The
license.
toys, the toy makers, the people who donate the money for this thing. We're gonna give them what they want. So dance monkey, dance. We
Yeah.
want it lighter. Want goofy lighting. The lighting's just
And I think that's why I like Batman Returns now, is because if you watch Batman Forever now, you go, oh, wow.
So if he would have gotten to make his third movie, now I don't know how much of the rumors you remember of this, but wasn't one of the brothers, I can't remember, was it Wayne Brothers was going to be
Damon Wayans was going to
Damon
be.
was going to be Robin.
Yeah.
Which would have been interesting.
Yeah, and Harvey Dent would have been.
Would have been Billy D. Williams.
Correct.
They were actually going to do that for the next one. They were just building that
How
up.
ahead of the times of all of this culture situation that we live in now was Tim Burton going,
Yeah.
what his vision was for things. I think it was,
Yeah.
it just shows, like, whatever people want to say, that dude was thinking out of the box before
yes.
everybody else was. So
yes.
everybody else needs to
absolutely.
just shut up about it, because
No.
he was ready to make decisions.
That's what he got so
30
mad
years
about,
ago.
Because remember, a few years ago, didn't he do that little school of whatever and say, "Oh, whitest movie in the world." He's like, it's not about that. It's casting the right characters.
Right.
And you're so stupid because it is the guy who had Black Harvey Dent, who wanted this,
Right.
and was going to get it too.
Right. Who was ahead of
game.
anybody asking these
Yeah.
questions and going, hey, well, this is different than the comic.
And by the way, no one was saying we need a black. No one was saying that back then. He wanted it. He wanted it. Good for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Good for him. I would have loved to have seen Billy D. Williams play Two-Face.
I would love to see Billy D. Williams be a heel after Lando, because Lando was already kind of unlikable in Empire at points.
Too smug in himself, but yeah.
You would have loved to have seen him own Harvey Dent.
Who knows? It could have been Billy D. Williams' big break again, his second win
Correct.
because he wasn't getting much.
No,
This
he
could have
was
just
not.
Honestly, the third Batman film could have propelled his career into other things. Just like, I mean, you get your name on the marquee of the new Batman poster, then you are somebody now, right? I think Robin Williams was supposed to be the Riddler or something.
Yep.
And that would have been great. That would have been great. The whole film would have been just, I would have loved to have seen the concepts, the ideas for it. Because I remember thinking, I had zero problem with Billy D. Williams. In fact, I thought Billy D. Williams was going to come back as Two-Face in the sequel. I thought that's what they were doing. And then the rumor was he was coming back for the third one. I was like, great. Couldn't wait to see it. Yeah. But alas, it was not the case. And McDonald's, it was mainly McDonald's, right, that ran him off?
I think so. I think McDonald's was a driving factor in a lot of the decisions, because I think DC and Warner Brothers had to play catch up, lack of a better term, to how McDonald's felt. They kind of got short-sighted on Batman Returns, because you even look. It's just such a weird thing.
It is, but the thing is, though, there are some creepy moments in Batman. It's like you did not see him falling into an acid pit as something kind of jarring. As him, I remember it scared me when he looked into the mirror and saw something, smash the mirror and starts laughing. He's got the bandages wrapped. That's freaky. The bloody bandages coming off and everything. There are some disturbing images there, but yet
he was
McDonald's
a psycho.
is fine with that.
He was very good psycho.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying there were some dark moments in there.
Well, yeah, making Jerry Hall destroy her face.
Yes. Yeah. So it's just like, but McDonald's just seemed to be so shocked. This one was this one really that above and beyond what had already been seen?
I don't know what it was. I almost think it was the number one. I think the Penguin was, like you said, him dying the way he died and just being
that was one of their complaints.
Repulsive.
Yeah,
he was a gross individual.
Yeah, he was. He was,
and I think
disturbing to look at.
The sexuality with Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Keaton
that's true too.
Pretty high. I mean, she licks his face, and if someone licked my face,
if Michelle Pfeiffer licked your face in a Catwoman suit, my
utility belt would be off quickly.
There we go.
If it could even buckle.
Linda Carter. All right, so. No, I can see that, but they said when he was in the studio talking about the third installment, they kept saying, "Yeah, but what other projects do you want to work on?" And he was like, "Well, I mean," he said, "we can talk about that later." He said, "Here's what I have for the third one." They said, "Yeah, but would you like to do?
They let him
Superman?"
know.
Yeah, they let him know immediately after it was over that he's not going to do it. They were kind, but he said he kept talking. He wanted to talk about the third movie. They
Thanks,
kept
but
saying,
no thanks.
Yeah, but they kept talking about. Well, let's talk about some other projects that you'd be interested in, because it was like, yeah. And by the way, to my knowledge, Batman Returns made tons of money for him.
I think it made a lot of money.
Maybe not as much.
I
as
don't
the
think
first
it
one,
made
but-
as much. Definitely didn't make as much as the first.
Well, the first one just kind
and
of hit
I
everyone.
almost don't think it made as much as Batman Forever. I think it's kind of like. But if you look
Really?
at the Star Wars universe, Star Wars made a lot. Empire made less. Jedi made more than Empire. But
Right.
everybody
Loves Empire.
loves
The best.
Empire.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Batman Returns is Empire. I'm saying Batman Returns was giving very much a unfair decision.
So who turned away from it? Not just not counting the critics. Why did it not make as much? For people, do you think fans were what
I think-
disappointed fans? Surely it wasn't the disturbing moments we talked about that turned
I
off
think the
McDonald's.
audience aged with it. Mm-hmm. And I think that 11-year-old boys, I'll attest to this, that saw Batman at that time, that were 14 or 13 or whatever at that time, had kind of moved on.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
that
they'd
was
been
when I
3
was
years older.
slowly getting out of, I may have
I can see this.
bought Batman comics and Detective Comics, but I was not buying Batman action figures and wanted to
Right.
get a Batcave and wanted to.
But for the 14-year-olds, that's why Catwoman was created.
Correct. But
I mean, I don't know either. I don't have the answer for that. But obviously it's something.
it was a perfect storm that Batman did so well.
Well,
Well, a lot of
once
people
you have a
call
huge success like-
1989 the
mean-
summer of Batman.
Well, yeah, no, they called it the movie of the decade for the 80s.
You know, it's
They were
such
just- it
a
was such a
weird
cultural impact.
like.
And how do you make a sequel to what's deemed the movie of the decade?
I think that instead of him trying to top it, he said, "Hey, let's go with this."
I think that's a great choice. I thought it was a great choice.
Yeah,
that he
because you
did.
can't hold everybody.
No,
If you try to please everybody, you're going to please nobody.
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. See, you learned that off the back of a Snapple cap.
I did not.
Okay.
I think Gene Simmons said.
Okay, that's right.
I think Gene Simmons said,
Sure, no,
I
yes.
want them to love me or hate me, but I don't want them to just like me. And I think that that's a lot of it. I think that, and I could be totally wrong on that quote, but we'll credit to Gene.
Heath in the comments. Go ahead and tell Wes how wrong he is.
Well, if somebody's going to crap on it, it's going to be Heath. He ain't got, if his mouth's moving, he ain't got anything good to say. Yeah, I think that, I think that Tim Burton wanted to grow his audience. And I think that Tim Burton grew an audience that's. How many people have Nightmare Before Christmas tattoos? How many people?
That's true.
I mean, that dude was a genius.
Yep.
And a lot of that was credited to Batman. And I think that the studio cut his Achilles on going forward with it because they were so tied up in the
marketing aspect,
the licensing aspect.
Licensing aspect. You got to make sure that money train keeps rolling. Sad, but yeah, you're right.
And what we're lucky with is with hopefully before everybody dies, if DC can get all of these other movies out, to see Michael Keaton again as Batman.
That's right.
It's going to be a very moving thing for people our age.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say it's like Mark Hamill being digitized for The Mandalorian, but there's something pretty cool about thinking you're going to see Michael Keaton with that cowl on.
I'm looking forward to that, but these days I find that they care less and less about our money and giving us what we want.
No, I agree. I agree. I mean, it's a crapshoot.
I'm sitting on the fence here, but I am cheering for them to do it right. I think Michael Keaton will play the character straight. I think he'll do a good job. And I think it'll be refreshing to see, his take on an older Batman and what he'd be like.
Yeah, I mean, that dude, I mean, he did so good in the Spider-Man movie when he was Vulture, I thought.
He was the best thing about that movie. It was fantastic.
You know,
he took a character that was dumb comic book character.
Yeah.
And honestly, that is, movie-wise, Vulture's my favorite Spider-Man villain right now in the movies.
Well,
He did an amazing job. He did an amazing job with Vulture.
there's something about Michael Keaton. He's just a cool looking
No, he's
dude.
great. He's great. He's great. He's he's part of the dream team. He's Mr. Multiplicity.
He's a handsome fella.
I'm telling. Well, all right. So that's it for now, folks. We'll see you next time on Princes of the Universe.